Hey, what is up everyone? It's Rinku, and today we are looking at the Korean patch notes for October 19th. We are also going to be looking at a few other Invent Global articles as well as the Korean patch notes for last week, because although it was small, there's actually a few things that are a great segue into today's patch notes, so it all goes together. Although I do like my videos to be short and straight to the point, I do end up talking a lot. However, today I feel like if there's something important to talk about, I need to talk about it, so prepare for long videos. Last week on October 12th, Korea received a farming buff, which is actually very cool. You can receive a mysterious seed by either harvesting, breeding, pruning, or curing either special seeds or special hyphas. So most likely, if you're farming, that's what you're going to be farming. And basically, if you combine this mysterious seed with a normal seed, you create this mysterious crop, and I'm assuming it goes with whatever you combined it with. So it's basically like a super crop, I guess you could say. And you can get 3 to 4 fruits when you breed, and also get a high amount of crops when you harvest them. Now, at this point right here, you will get a high amount of crops when you harvest them, is what makes me believe that if you combine it with, say, a sunflower seed, it'll be a mysterious crop, but it will be a mysterious sunflower, and it'll give you a high amount of sunflowers. Now, I could be wrong, I'm just looking at the patch notes, but that's how I'm interpreting this, and that sounds pretty cool. It's just a buff to whatever you're farming already, and just gives you extra things for proccing this rare seed. So, that is very awesome. They also received a buff to the Commissylvia Part 2 wagon. This is the permanent wagon that came out, and it now has a skill, Instant Acceleration. How cool is that? Now, the reason why this is cool is there's also an update on today's patch notes, we'll look at it later today, but basically buffed it even further, making it go even faster. So if you guys watched a video of the permanent wagon getting Instant Accel last week, well, now it goes even faster. Now, I thought this was funny. It says, fixed an issue where Vel disappeared in the middle of the raid. This was last week. This week, there's some sad news. If I take what it said literally this week, it seems like things did not go so well. The last thing that caught my eye, which is really nice, is there is a quest that gives a T5 horse, but what's important is, what's nice is it's female, but what's important is that it has Instant Excel and Sprint. Now, it'd be interesting if it had Drift instead of Sprint to make people, to like force people to learn how to go faster than that, because Instant Excel and Drift can definitely go faster than Instant Excel and Sprint, but it is really cool that it comes with those two skills, making you be able to go really fast, and also they're fully trained at right when you get her. So, really cool, really awesome, and that is the last interesting thing I thought from last week's patch notes. Now, something else that happened in between last week's patch notes and this week's patch notes was that the lead producer of BDO has delivered a message about the directions of upcoming BDO updates. That is crazy, and there is some stuff in here that relates to the things that were updated today. Now, they want to take BDO in the direction of, now that we have badass awakening weapons, they want to empower our main hand weapons, the skills that we got from 1 to 56. So we have already got Rawbom's Enlightenment, which is the combination of 2 main hand skills. However, this is not what he's talking about. There is an additional feature where instead of combining skills, they're just going to awaken normal main hand skills that you previously had. So instead of Warrior Spinning Slash, there's Awakening Spinning Slash at 56, and some of the stuff has already came in game in Korea today. So they're pushing pretty much 56 to 60 content, you getting skills, not only awakening skills every level, but unawakening skills getting empowered every level. So that is pretty crazy to think about, and they also talk about how all the skills that you can only learn at 61 and 62, like the upgrades to the awakening skills, even the one-offs that like you actually have to level to get it, they're all being pushed down to 60. So even though there's going to be some crazy high level like passive buffs, as far as the actual skills that require you to hit 61 62 are being reduced to 60. So that's very interesting, and I was wondering what they were going to do to compensate for the people that have level 61 and 62. So what they gave us was an equivalent to a Tri-Crescent Ring at level 61 and an equivalent to a Tri-Tungred Earring at level 62, and while there's no skill upgrades at level 61 and 62 anymore, these are really good replacements, because that means the people that just want a PvP could end up buying their way to better accessories at level 60 and still have the same potential, but those that go the extra mile, for whatever the reason, have a good replacement just if they ever decide to blow up their accessories. It's a really good replacement just to have these 2 items just for the rough times. We are finally back to today's patch notes, and not only do we have new raw bomb skills, which are available at 57 for Dark Knight, Striker, and Mystic, which is a separate set of raw bomb skills that we got at 56, and is a combination of two main hand skills that you get a new raw bomb skill. We also have the new main skills called Absolute Skills, which is just a clear upgrade of an already existing main skill, and is the same exact thing that the leader producer was talking about when we were using the example of the Awakening Warrior main hand skill, where it's a original skill that is just upgraded. It's just a complete upgrade to an already main hand skill that already exists, and they're now calling it the Absolute Skills. They are also rolling out tons of class rebalances as far as PvE goes, and just buffing most classes, just straight up buffing classes. In addition to the raw bomb skills and absolute skills, they're just buffing classes, and that's also great because a lot of classes probably feel underwhelming to grind in right now. And hopefully all this stuff will rebalance it, make everyone stronger overall, but also add more balancing and more options for balance as well. And right below that, there's also the Black Spirit's Rage can be locked. Thank you. Just thank you so much for giving us this. This is actually a really good buff to certain classes. Cough, Dark Knight cough. And I'm sure there's other classes, but any class that has a bad 100% that makes you vulnerable by just having the 100% there, because you can't use the normal skill without wasting a gigantic 100% that sometimes isn't good, it's just bad. Now, it would have been interesting if they tried to rework everyone's 100% to be a very useful thing. You have to plan out when to use it, but it seems apparent that they just really want to neglect some classes, and some classes it's just more useful to just absorb the buff, and even then it leaves you like very vulnerable in PvP to just stand there and absorb a buff. So either way, it just makes some classes very hard to work around that without just sacrificing skills that they intend us to use. So I can see why they put this feature in the game, and it's very cool to see. Now, I don't normally talk about class specifics, but because they just decided to give only Warrior and Ranger absolute skills, I just want to go over the absolute skill for the Warrior. So new upgraded pre-awakening skills, the absolute skills have been added. After completing the Awakening weapon quest, so you have to get the Awakening first, you can then learn absolute skills, which is like an Awakening pre-awakening skill, if that makes any sense. So in order to learn the absolute skill, you have to have all the levels of the specific pre-awakening skill before. So you have to have the skill fully upgraded, and then you can absolute it, I guess, if that's what you want to say. And also, if you see tests of these skills in Korea right now, they're not going to impress you, because for the Fall Arsha Tournament 2017, the PvP damage for all these absolute skills are very low. So after the tournament, they will be buffed to their rightful power, hopefully giving our main hand skills a very useful thing to do. So for some new items, they gave a new offhand weapon and also a new awakening weapon, and this awakening weapon is actually pretty interesting because it gives you an option that are better than the two awakening weapons you get from completing the awakening quest without spending any money enhancing them. So you can just get this awakening weapon, and if it's like an alt or something, you can just call it a day. I mean, it gives 66 to 75 AP, so it's something, and it also gives you plus 10 accuracy, which is nice as well. And you can get it from your Black Spirit from after completing the Basham's Answer quest. So overall, just seems like a quality of life update, and I think it's going to be pretty nice for people that just want to play alts with the Awakening and don't want to spend any money on them. Now, although I don't like it, I did say earlier that the Katana Awakening weapon would be good for alts, but you can only get one per family, so I'm not really sure why they did that, but at least you can get something for one of your characters. Going down here, this is what I was talking about, the permanent Kama Sylvia wagon in Kama Sylvia Part 2. It basically got a buff. So it got instant excel last week, but they have further buffed it and will now recover stamina at a constant speed. So not too sure how it's all going to work out because I don't own one myself, but we will see that in our game eventually, and it's cool that they have buffed it further. And also right below that, you'll notice something interesting. Guild Battle has been added. Now, I'm not going to go into this too in depth because we can't actually test all the things that it says, but basically, guild leader or officers can start guild battles that will take place in the current server. When two guilds agree, they will move to they can move to the place for the battle. So I believe it will give them kind of like the Node War teleport. You can everyone can teleport in. There's going to be no traps, maids, or cannons able to be used during this. That's interesting. The battle will continue until one guild has no alive members. So basically, it's just a death match, and it's also a best 2 out of 3, I believe, and it only lasts 5 minutes. So I'm not really sure what the limitations are. I mean, could everyone just like kill one person and then everyone hide? I'm not really sure. It's gonna be interesting, but it also does say that the winner will get guild battle score. So that leads me to believe that this is going to be a ranked thing that people might actually take seriously, which is actually really cool. Now, again, it won't be taken seriously if the game mechanics can be like taken advantage of. I'm not entirely sure what this actually means, but this is a thing now, and it is very cool. So I just had to throw that in there. And actually right there is the link where I found out you can get a ring and an earring at level 61, 62 that are equivalent to the yellow accessories I showed off earlier. Now I believe this is because it's under leveling achievements, and those are basically like per family you only get them once. I'm assuming you can only get one of these per account. I'm not entirely sure. It'd be really cool if we get 2 somehow, maybe another character or something. Maybe they'll like explain on that in the future, but as far as how the leveling achievements have worked in the past, seems like we'll only get 1 of each. You may also notice they added a small quality buff on the bottom of that screen there, showing that if you train in areas in Calpheon, when you kill the monsters you'll randomly get buffs, and some of these buffs will be for 30 seconds, some of them last for 3 minutes. It's just interesting. So if you are training at a low level and you're killing these monsters, you'll randomly get buffs to increase either your movement speed, your attack speed, your experience of combat, or skill experience overall. So it's just nice increasements when you're low level to like help you go to the next level, I guess. I don't know. On your way to 56, because if you're not, it's funny because they target a lot of this stuff, this quality of life stuff, from 1 to 56, because there's actually a lot of people that pick up this game and can't make it to 56, surprisingly, even though it's very easy. So this pushes people to actually get to 56. It gives them inspiration. A lot of these quality of life things actually do help the development of the game, and once they do hit 56 and get Awakening, I feel like most people realize that this game's is so much more bigger than it appears to be. Now, this is something I was talking about earlier in last week's patch notes. This week it says that Vel has disappeared from Vel's territory. Vel will reappear after some rework. So I'm not sure if that means Vel is completely broken, or if that just means if he does disappear that they don't have a fix for it currently, but this just sounds like they're trying to fix an issue. Like, I don't know how else you can interpret these 2 sentences. Maybe this is the bad translation. I'm not entirely sure what this actually means, but it seems like Vel needs some reworks. So that's interesting. Right below that, there's also an abandoned iron mine buff, I guess. Basically, they now drop a stackable box, and also monster density has increased. And this is by far the absolute worst guild mission you can receive in Media, in my opinion. I hate going here, because there's no spawns, there's absolutely no density. So the fact that just that one line of monster density has been increased just instantly says buff, and it's a well-needed buff, honestly. So I really do like that. Now, there's also quality of life / buff updates for Sylvia, aka I guess the end game, because it's all the highest level requirement grinding areas in the game. Now, this is pretty crazy because they added small griffins, small king griffins, and small black leopards, because the majority of people, that is the hardest thing to do in the quest line of Sylvia. So I believe they also changed all the quests that require you to kill these things to you can also kill these small versions. Not only did they add the small variants of those monsters to Navarran Steppe, they also completely reworked Miramok Ruins and Moncham Forest, which are the highest level grind spots in Sylvia Part 1 that are really tough, and honestly, I'm not even sure if they were ever worth it. But after this rework, I bet they probably are very worth it, in addition to the already rare loot that they drop. So, Miramok Ruins, the level and HP of monsters have been decreased. They will not inflict any CC with AoE attacks anymore. Now, this is a really important thing. The fact that this was a mechanic is interesting because I don't think anyone even knew that this was a thing, but it says the system where the monster's DP increases when they see an enemy and decreases when nearby objects are destroyed has been removed. I've never heard of anyone saying that was a thing. Out of all the stuff I've looked up for Sylvia, the fact that they removed this is how was that a thing to begin with? That's crazy. So they made these guys completely they nerfed them, which buffs the grinding for us. So it's kind of crazy, and they've been redistributed, and they'll now drop Voltaire's Hidden Light Belt. Now, this is interesting. This was the best in slot belt when it came out. However, there's also the Tungrad belt. So it's good that this now has a separate drop, because I'm not sure if it's really worth much more than a Bassi when you could just get a ton grad belt, but this puts it like in perspective if this is a drop. I'm not sure how much common it will be, how much the price will drop, but it's just interesting regardless. Now the Mansion Forest, the one right below that, the more accessible grinding area, has also been reworked. The monster density has been increased, the AP and HP of these monsters is decreased. They will not drop treasure bundles anymore, which is interesting. I'm not entirely sure on that, but they will also not be immune to all CC anymore, and their AP has been set to 220. I think that's about everything, and it really does look like they're trying to upgrade BDO in every angle possible. They're really touching on all the bases. They're upgrading early game with all these quality of life updates, quests, like gear that you don't have to spend money on until you get to the mid game, where they're adding a lot of grind spots and like possibilities where you can do events, life skill, just everything in the game. And they're still focusing on like the late game, the high geared people, by re-looking at all the grind spots and also constantly rebalancing all the classes in game. Like, we're just getting like 3 classes at a time are getting new skills all the time. Like, we're getting 56 raw skills that we already have, now we're getting 57 skills. I believe we'll probably get 58, 59, and 60 raw skills, where we're now getting absolute skills. I'm not sure if there's going to be one for every level of those too. And he also talks about how at level 60 they want to really like give you something that's going to be amazing, that's going to make you use your main hand weapon and a lot. Like, it's really going to make you decide which weapon you want at which time to do these crazy combos. So we're just going to have to wait until all the stuff catches up to level 60, and they've reduced all the requirements for 61, 62 to go back to 60. So 60 is the meta for PvP, and they're still giving people that grind past that stuff and people that don't do PvP stuff. I guess that's it. I mean, we're done. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys. Thanks for all the support. I'll see you next time. Hopefully they just keep it up, guys.